Test, test. Okay, here we go. Monday morning. Thank goodness it's Monday. TGIM. Thank goodness it's Monday. We're back at it again, back in the saddle. So it's 7:06 a.m. California time. And stay tuned on this one. I have a story hour, Boomer Dan's story hour, about a guy named Woodrow Derenberger and another man named Ingrid Cold. Fascinating story. I'll just let that play as we monitor these. It's like about 20 minutes, I think. So hang it tight and check that out when I put that on. As soon as I put these on, we'll start that. So let's go to this trade. This is a 0 DTE cherry trade. The cherry trade project is where we take trades that were put out there by the Cherry Twins, two cherry dudes out there. And this is one of their strategies that they highlighted and looked at. So let's set this up. We monitor these every day. We're in the paper trade mode on this right now. So first was I did some back testing on this. Now we're going to do some paper trading, and if everything looks good and worthy of our money, we'll take it to the next level and we'll start to trade with live real money. So let's put these trades on now. So if we go down to the option chain, this is on the SPX. We'll go to the option chain. We'll choose today's options, which are 0 DTE options, April 29th. We'll open that up. I'll go down to the at the money option. So here's the at the money. I'll just go ahead and I'll right click there and I'll say analyze by trade. And then I'll select butterfly. You can see it throws down like a basic butterfly down there below. Then I'll go over to the risk graph. I'm just going to tune this thing in. I'm going to dial it to exactly where I want it. So we want the peak of the butterfly to be at the money. And at the money right now is 51.15. So I'm going to change these middle strikes down here on this green bar to 51.15. We're going to test three different widths, three different butterflies with different widths. And the first one will be a 15-point wide. So I'm going to take this call. I'm going to go up to the 51.30, which is 15 points above the middle strike. And then the lower strike will be 15 points below, which will be 51.50. So there's that one. I'm going to lock that price in. And then I'm just going to duplicate this. I'm going to right click. I'm going to say analyze trade, and that'll duplicate the exact same trade. Now for this one will be a butterfly with 20-point wings. So all I need to do is just change these outer wings on the second one. We'll go to 51. Oh, let's see, is that right? No, we need to go to 50.95, 15.20. And then on the upper end, we need to go to 35. So there's the 20-point wide butterfly. That's the second one we're going to be monitoring. So I'm going to lock that price in. And then the last one, we're going to do one more. So I'm going to say analyze trade. This third one will be a 25-point wing butterfly. So for this one, I'm going to move these strikes down 5 more points. So now this is a 25-point wide butterfly on the downside, and on the upside this is a 25-point wide butterfly on the upside. So there's our three trades. So I'm just going to make sure all these are locked in here. These little lock boxes. Make sure they're locked in to get this current price right now. And let's just take a real quick look at them again. So here's the first one. This is our 15-pointer. Make sure all these dates are right. Today's the 29th. Okay. So this is our 15-point wide butterfly. Looks good. Locked in. Here's our second one. This is the 20-point wide butterfly. Looks good. Locked in. And then the third one is right here. This is the 25-point wide. And so there we go. So we're off and running. Usually these trades for my back testing they've taken about like an hour to come in, an hour or less, but sometimes a lot of them right around the hour mark. That's when they hit their profit target. And the profit target on these are going to be this first one here. The profit target, the 15-pointer is $50. Profit target on the second one, which is 20 points wide. I was doing 100 points, but my friend Alex threw out there into the mix that maybe we should try to do $75 on this one. So we'll call this one $75. The middle one, the 20-pointer, that's our profit target. And the third one is $100 profit target, 25-point wide. So I'm just going to, for today, since it's Boomer Dan's story hour about the man called Woodrow Derenberger and Ingrid Cold. I'm just going to put that on right now, and we'll just sit here and watch it live. Let me move this whole thing over so we can just kind of get an idea, so we can keep an eye on this graph here while we're listening to this recording, this story hour. But typically I'll just check in on all three of these butterflies like every 10 to 15 minutes, just kind of monitor where they're at. And this is how I paper trade. This is the simple, poor man's way of, this is the idiot's way of paper trading, where I just set up these simulated trades, make sure that the prices are locked in, and then I just watch them throughout the day, just kind of monitor them and keep track of where they're at. So that's how we'll monitor these. I'm just going to leave it right here on this 15-minute one to begin with. I'm going to pull in the story hour. Oh yeah, so I check these like every 15 minutes throughout the morning up to about 8:30, see where we're at, see if we have a win or a loss, and then I'll just leave these on, these same exact structures, and I'll check it again at 10 a.m. mid-morning, check in to see where it's at there. And then at the very end of the day, last week we had a pin. We left one on until the end of the day, and we had like a perfect pin right to the pinnacle of this butterfly, and that was amazing. So with this testing, I just want to watch all those different possible scenarios, like the morning trade where we may scalp out like, $50 to $100, or if we left it on throughout the middle of the day where it's at, and then at the end of the day we left it on as if we just placed the trade, walked away and forgot all about it. Where would it wind up? So we're off and running. Here we go. So let me pull in this story hour. This is called, let's see, I don't know if this has an official name. As you all know, I'm a UFO nut, and there's this great site called Eyes on Cinema that has a bunch of old archival recordings and interviews and whatnot on UFOs. And I mean, they're real stuff, of course, like really legit, like real life, I mean, it's on the internet. As we all know, everything, if it's on the internet, it's real. But this one really kind of stuck with me when I listened to it, because this guy here, he's being interviewed about this thing that happened to him. And this guy is just an average, ordinary guy. This is back in 1966. This guy's just an average, ordinary guy, like well-respected, not some nut, not crazy. He just has a good job. He's just a good, solid, sane person who had this super weird thing happen to him. And you can just tell by the interview, when you listen to him talk, you can tell that this is something that really happened to him and how he's puzzled by it. And it's just, he's confused, but he's not making it up, I don't think. Just by the way he sounds, you can hear in his voice. He's like, this is something that really happened to him. It's a wacky story. So here we go. Let's get started. This is the Boomer Dan's Story Hour, Morning Story Hour. Let's take a listen.
I would like to introduce my cohort in this adventure, Mr. Ronald Maines, who is the general manager of WTAP TV and radio. And we are here to ask this gentleman questions, and we will be asking questions for the next half hour to 25 minutes. Our guest is Mr. Dernberger of route number 2, Mineral Wells, West Virginia. Mr. Dernberger has a very interesting story to tell us this evening. I will give you a thumbnail sketch to begin with. Whether or not you believe in unidentified flying objects or not is not the point. Whether you believe in what you hear or see on this program is not the point. We are here to talk to a man that allegedly did make contact with such an object within the Parkersburg area last evening, November the 2nd, 1966, at approximately 7:25 p.m. The incident allegedly took place on Interstate Highway 77 near the interchange of route number 47. This gentleman is a salesman in the area. He has been a resident of the area for the past 50 years, and he has given us permission to interview him, to show his face, and to call him by name. And this in itself takes a lot of initiative and, to be very plain, a lot of know-how.
Thinking to start cutting carbs, I need to drop my belly fat.
If you want to drop this...
Mr. Dernberger, in your own words, would you please relate what happened last night?
Well, I am a salesman, and I drive a truck. And last night, shortly after 7 o'clock, I was coming from Marietta, Ohio, coming down Interstate 77. And just before I came to the intersection of Route 47, there was a car past me, overtaking me from behind, and following closely behind this car was this unidentified flying object. And as the car behind passed me, this object was following close behind it, and it swerved directly in front of my truck, turning crosswise. And when it turned crosswise, it slowed down. It started slowing not abruptly or too fast, but it gave me plenty of time to step on my brakes and slow down with it, but it forced me to come to a complete stop. As soon as I had stopped, there was a door opened in the side of this vehicle, and this man stepped out and came directly to me, or came to the truck. He walked to the right-hand side of the truck, and he told me to roll down the window. He asked me to roll down the window on my right-hand side of my truck. And I had done what he asked. And this man stood there, and he first asked me what I was called. And I knew he meant my name, and I told him my name. And he asked me, he said, why are you frightened? He said, don't be frightened, we wish you no harm. He said, we mean you no harm, we wish you only happiness. And I told him my name, and when I told him my name, he said he was called Cold. That was the name that he was called by. And he asked me what the city of Parkersburg, he pointed to the lights. He didn't point, but he gave the impression that he was pointing, and he asked me what that was called. And I told him it was Parkersburg. It was a city, a town. And he asked me if most all the people lived in this city or town. And I explained to him that it was a place of business. It's where we transacted our business. That the people lived in communities, outlying communities, most of the people. And when I told him that this was a city, he said that where his home was, that was called a gathering. And again, he told me not to be frightened, which I was. I was very frightened. And as far as I can understand, this was all mental. There was no spoken words from him. I knew what he was asking me, but yet he stood there and his mouth did not move. He had a smile on his face. He appeared very courteous and friendly. And after I talked with him a while, he told me he would see me. He said, we will see you again, and he left in his vehicle.
Now, Mr. Dernberger, for the sake of our television audience here, the words that you used, cold would be like Cold is his name. This is how it sounded to you, that his name was Cold.
Yes.
And the word gathering was like we would know together or something like this.
Yes, that's what he meant. That was the impression that he gave.
And he did not move his lips nor utter any sound whatsoever. He talked with you in telepathy then.
That was right. That his lips did not move. He uttered no words at all.
But you talked. I mean, he didn't.
Yes, I talked. He told me twice that I could either talk or I could think, which either would be better or easier for me.
This was an instant thing. There was no hesitation on his part nor on your part. You knew immediately what he was communicating to you, and he knew immediately what you were communicating to him.
That is right.
Mm-hmm. What color was this object?
This object was between a real dark gray and black. I would call it a charcoal color. It glistened in my headlights. My headlights, when it stopped me, my headlights were shining directly on it.
Were there lights in it?
No, I see no lights of any kind. There was no lights in it.
There were windows.
If there was windows, I couldn't detect them. I couldn't see them.
And when the door, now you had a very clear view from behind the wheel of your van, the driver's seat of your van.
Yes.
He came forward toward you. Did he communicate to you to roll your window down before he got to the side of your truck? Was he still in your headlights when he communicated?
He was still in my headlights, walking in a kind of a diagonal way across my headlights to the right-hand side of my truck when he told me then to roll down, if I would please roll down the window on the right-hand side of my truck.
Now, in the beginning, you were driving south on 77.
Correct.
From Marietta.
Yes.
Toward, Mineral Wells.
Yes.
A car passed you.
It did.
immediately behind this car of what distance?
I would say between 25 and 30 feet. It was very close to the other car.
Came this object,
Yes.
hovering how far off the ground, would you say?
Well, when I first seen it, I seen it out of the corner of my eye, and I first thought it was just another car, and then I knew it wasn't a car almost immediately, and I turned and looked at it. And I would say it was approximately 30 to 35 feet long, and it came directly across past my truck and immediately turned sideways. It was completely crossed the two-lane highway. It was.
For anyone with dental issues, do not drink water. People are reportedly healing decay and repairing damaged goods.
It completely blocked me. I went partly off of the road onto the berm to try to go around it, but I couldn't get around it.
Now, let me ask you something. Then when it came in front of your car, may I have, Mr. Dernberger was kind enough to draw us a sketch of what this object appeared to him, and we'll let you see it here. I'm correct then that the object came alongside of your car, veered in front of your car, and as you slowed, or your truck, and as you slowed your truck down, the object slowed down, and then when it landed, it didn't land, it stayed off the ground.
Yes, it was approximately 8 to 10 inches off of the ground, and as soon as it came to a stop immediately, there was a door on the side facing me open, and this man stepped out, and he started walking immediately right to the right-hand side of my truck.
Now, that would be then the picture we have on our screen right now. That would be the angle. Your truck would be going right at that. Is that the idea?
That's
pointed
right.
Now, where would the door be in that particular object there?
It would be right where the large part of the drawing starts.
Where the hump is? Oh,
yes, right
in the
where
front
the
of the
hump.
hump.
Would it be in this direction here?
Back toward no, that's too far, Mr. Wilson. Back up front farther.
About here?
Right there.
Not in here.
Approximately right there. And the door, it resembled just an ordinary automobile door when it opened.
All right. Now this, it didn't open from a bottom hinge or a top hinge. It opened from a side hinge.
It
just
opened
as
from
door
the.
that we know opens.
Yes, it opened from the side.
How about how was this gentleman? How was this person dressed? What type of clothing did he wear?
He had a top coat on, and it was zippered down the front. His top, the top two buttons, like my coat here, were open, and this outfit was a shiny material. It was a glossy outfit, like it was metallic, I suppose you would call it. And his shirt was a little bit darker than his jacket. And below his coat, he had on trousers of the same kind of a cloth material. And I believe the trousers were just a shade lighter than his coat.
Which would have been a navy blue. The coat
Yes.
would have been a dark blue
Yes.
coat. What about the texture of his skin, the color of his skin, his eyes, eyebrows, eyelashes, hairline? What were these? What did he look like?
He looked perfectly natural and normal as any human being. He had his face looked like he had a good tan, a deep sun tan. He was not too dark, but it was just like he had been out in the sun a lot and had a good tan. His hair was combed straight back, and it was a dark brown. And he seemed to have a good thick head of hair. And his eyebrows, his face, his features were very normal. I don't believe that he looked any different from any other man that we'd meet on the street.
Now, this ship that he stepped out of, when he left the ship and started toward your truck, toward your van, the ship remained there as he walked toward you? Or?
No, immediately that he stepped out of the truck, or out of his vehicle, the door closed and the vehicle lifted straight up. It went straight, just as straight as you could point upward, and it went up, and I did see it, and occasionally as I was talking to this man, I looked up and it was still there. It was approximately 50 to 75 feet off of the ground, and it stayed there all the time this man was talking to me.
Now, when he talked to you, did he turn his head away as I'm turning my head away now, or did he stare right at you, or did what was his movement?
He watched me when he was talking to me. He looked at me directly in the face, but as there were several cars and several big trucks passed, and as these big trucks would pass, he would turn his head and glance at the trucks.
But there was no... did you look at the object in the air while he was talking with you? Did you glance up at
Yes, in fact, I leaned forward and looked kind of out of my windshield, and I could see it. It was still...
So then this communication that he had with you would not necessarily depend upon him looking you in the eye or anything like that, then, evidently.
No, he did not. In fact, when he first got out of the vehicle, when he told me to roll the window down, it was impossible for him to see my eyes because I was behind my own headlights, and he could not have done it.
How old would you say he was?
He looked to be approximately 35, 40 years old. He was a very nice-looking man. He was neat. And
what specifically did he say to you? What did he say? Hi, it's a nice evening, or what? I mean, why did he stop you? What was his?
When he asked me to roll the window down, which I did, I rolled the window down, and he told me, he said, I would like to talk to you. And I just couldn't answer him. I just couldn't speak. And that is the first time he told me not to be frightened. He said he wished me no harm, and he talked a little bit in this vein, and he asked me why. He said, why are you frightened of us? He said, we are the same as you. He said, we eat, we breathe, we sleep, we bleed, even as you do. He said, we are like you. And he said, please be not frightened.
Did he say where he was from?
He did not say where he was from, but when he asked me what Parkersburg was, and I told him, he said at where I stay or where I live, my home, he said, we call this a gathering.
Atera is the IT painkiller. Remote monitoring and management, remote access, help desk and ticketing.
Did he say anything about him? Did he volunteer? Did he have a family? Did he ask you what you did for a living? Where you worked?
No, he asked me. He asked me if I worked for a living. He asked me if I had to work to live, and I explained to him what I was. He even asked me where I lived, and I told him. And I told him that I was a salesman, and he told me that he was a searcher.
A searcher.
A searcher.
But he didn't tell you what he was searching for.
No, he didn't. He didn't offer me no information other than this, but at 2 or 3 times he did tell me. He said, Mr. Dernberger, look at me. And he said, do not be frightened, look at me. And I believe if I...
God, this is just amazing. Okay, so I'm going to take a little intermission here. Go get your popcorn and sodas and candy. I'm just going to check in here on these trades. So it's 7:30, and here's the first one. We've been watching this one throughout this thing. So this is this trade's about a break even right now. This is the 15-point wide butterfly. After about 30 minutes of it being on, here is the 20-point wide butterfly. This one's up about $12. And they're both of those are still inside the butterfly. And then here's the last one, 25-point wide. This one is up like, let's see, $30 or so, $20 to $30. So that's just kind of the update on those. I'll sit on this one, this big one, as we get back to what's his name, Darren the salesman. Here we go. Part 2.
Hadn't have been frightened. I believe that if I had have looked to him, I believe that I could have understood a lot more of what he wanted me to than what I actually did.
I'm going to back up for a second. I missed that.
Him and I was a salesman, and he told me that he was a searcher.
A searcher?
A searcher.
But he didn't tell you what he was searching for?
No, he didn't. He didn't offer me no information other than this, but at 2 or 3 times he did tell me. He said, Mr. Dernberger, look at me. And he said, do not be frightened, look at me. And I believe if I hadn't have been frightened, I believe that if I had have looked to him, I believe that I could have understood a lot more of what he wanted me to than what I actually did. But
You just have this feeling, you mean? But
I have that feeling. I was very nervous. I was very upset after this happened. And after I got home and after I had calmed down, I can look back now and I see where I should have asked him questions, and I believe I had the impression that he would have answered these questions readily.
you believe in flying saucers?
I have never have believed in flying saucers before. I have heard about them a few times. I've even read in the paper about flying objects, but I honestly never did believe in it.
Do you believe in them now?
I believe in what I seen last night. I believe it was, I don't believe it was a saucer, but I believe it was an alien, some kind of an aircraft or spacecraft or something.
Mr. Dernberger, we have a program on radio called The Joe Pine Show, and Mr. Pine interviews extraordinary people in various, that are involved in various occupations and some non-occupational type of businesses. And have you ever heard of Joe Pine?
No, I haven't.
Never have.
I don't believe I have.
All right. On one of his recent broadcasts, he talked with a man. He interviewed a man who had not only had somewhat similar experience to what you had last evening, but this gentleman went one step further, and he had been taken aboard a spaceship, which, by the way, was described quite similarly to what you described this particular ship. And this ship, with these people who looked like we do and so forth, took him to Venus and took him to Mars and brought him back home again. What would you think of a story like that if somebody told it to you? What would you think of the person telling you that story? Would you believe that now? Would you believe that that could be possible?
Now, Mr. Mans, I believe now that that could happen. If someone would have told me yesterday before this happened, I would have frankly thought he was a nut. But I honestly believe now that it could happen. I'm surely not going to say it couldn't happen. Now, these men last night, or this man, he gave me no indication that he wanted me on his ship. He didn't ask me to get out of my truck. As I say, he was very friendly and courteous. And
You drink?
no, I do not drink.
You don't drink intoxicating beverages?
No, I do not drink any intoxicating beverages at all. I don't believe in drinking, and I just don't.
Mm-hmm.
But what I saw last night, I know that I saw it. It was no figment of imagination. It was there, and I was there. And
now, you said that he also made the statement that we will see you again.
when he was getting ready to leave, he stepped back from the truck about one step. Then he said, Mr. Dernberger, we will see you again. He didn't say I, he said we will see you again.
On your screen now is footage of a tiny technology company Jeff Bezos has invested in that's going to change the world.
And when he got in the truck, or when he got in the vehicle, the door opened as he walked up to the vehicle, and he stepped up into it, and there was another man, or I couldn't describe this man because I could just see his outline, but I did see his arm and hand reach outside and take a hold of the door and pull the door closed. And when the door closed, it made an audible noise like you'd shut a door on of a big heavy automobile.
What kind of a noise did this object make when it was hovering above the ground 6 or 10 inches and then upon letting the man off, and you say it went back up in the air 75 or 100 feet. This is an object now that we're talking about that's 8 or 9 feet high, 36 feet long,
yes,
and about 8 or 9 feet across.
That's right.
In breadth. It would, although it's really not too large an object, it's larger than what an automobile, for example.
Yes.
And to lift something like that would take a lot of force to do this. What kind of a sound did this make?
The sound when it was hovering over the ground and when it was lifting, I couldn't distinguish no difference in the sound. It was a low fluttering noise. Well, if you've ever heard the blades of a helicopter as it was idling, setting on the ground, that would be the closest way that I can describe the noise it made. But it was not very, very loud.
Can you make a noise that it sounded like?
It was a fluttering noise. It sounded something like...
But it's a sound you have never heard before.
I had never heard anything like it before in my life.
Let's get back to this. Let's get back to the fella here now. He was how tall?
I would say he was close to 6 feet tall, and he'd weigh around 180 or 185.
I'm 6 feet tall. He's heavier than I am.
He was about your height.
But heavier than what
Yes,
I am.
he was
facial.
heavier. His face was more full.
How much do you figure that I would weigh?
I'd say about 165 to 70. 170.
You're right on the button. That's right. There were no lights. This was dark. This time of night it was dark.
It was completely dark, but I never at any time turned my headlights off, and I also had the lights in the truck on. I have a cab light, and then I have lights back through my truck.
Mm-hmm.
And these lights were on. It gave good illumination up close to the truck, but not too far back. But while he was standing and talking to me, I could see him clearly, and at several times there was cars passed and trucks passed, and especially cars that came up from behind me. As they came around this bend, they were throwing their headlights directly on the back end of my truck and was throwing a good light on him.
But no one slowed down or
no one
paused
slowed
or anything
down.
like that. But they would have easily been able to see him.
Yes, they
Do you
could have
suppose
seen
maybe
him.
somebody in our audience might have passed you last evening, standing there talking with this fellow?
I know that there was several cars past me, and one car, as this thing settled down in front of me, was coming to meet me. And when this thing was directly in front of me, this car came to meet me. And his headlights it was in a kind of a curve. This guy came to meet me, would be making a left-hand curve, and his lights would be shining off to the right. But I still think that he could have seen and probably did see whatever this object was.
Glenn, I've been monopolizing here. You sneak in with a question. You have
That's
some
all right.
questions you'd like to ask?
I know personally that Mr. Derenberger was scared because I talked to him a short time after this happened by telephone last night.
Did your grandma ever tell you that modesty is a virtue? Well, your grandma is absolutely wrong.
What did your wife think when you told her about this episode?
Well, my wife was, she took it pretty calmly, but it kind of made her nervous. She worried today before I started back to work. She thought the same thing could happen again, and she believes that what I told her, and she's pretty upset herself about it.
This thought communication, which is apparently extrasensory perception or mental telepathy, when was you first aware that this was the way that you were communicating?
Well, when he first told me to come, when he first got out of his vehicle and started over to my car, that is when he first told me or asked me if I'd roll down my window. At that time, right at that minute, I didn't know that it was mental telepathy. But when he came to the door and looked in through the window from the right-hand side of the truck, then I realized that he was speaking, but his lips were not moving.
Is this the thing that frightened you, that shook you up?
This is what that frightened me more than anything I believe that had happened up until that time, even more so than when I actually seen the object. And I know that he told me not to be frightened. He was very reassuring in his attitude. He was friendly. He smiled continuously while I talked to him.
He kept his arms folded, something like this all the time.
His arms were folded completely at all times. Like I said, his hands were hidden. And at the time I talked to him, I didn't think nothing about it. But after I started home, I did wonder why he stood that way. And as I believe one of you gentlemen asked me before about his hands, when this man closed the door, when he got back into the vehicle, I distinctly seen this other man's hand and arm, and his arm looked completely normal in his hand.
Now you described the attire of this person more as a suit, such as I'm wearing, than a uniform.
Yes,
that we know as a uniform.
I would say that it wasn't a uniform. It didn't have, the cut of a uniform. It was more like you would wear a suit to town. Or
was it a cloth like this?
Well, it was a bright, shiny color cloth. It looked like what my wife calls a hard fabric. It glistened when the lights would shine on it.
A luminous type.
Yes.
The arm that came out, another arm from inside came out to close the door when
Yes,
this gentleman got back. Was that arm clothed in the same type of...
I would say it was identically the same. It looked the same to me exactly.
Now he had on, from what you could see, he had on a shirt that buttoned with a collar but no tie.
He had no tie, but I know that the top button of his shirt at the throat, I know he had a button there. I seen that. I looked at that button. Mm-hmm. His button. Now his top coat was zippered. It had a zipper on the front of his coat. And he looked perfectly normal.
Why do you suppose that he came around to the right-hand side of your truck rather than the nearest side to you? Why do you figure that he came around that side?
Well, the only reason that I could give for that was that I had two wheels off on the berm and two wheels sitting on the highway where I'd been trying to get around this before he got me completely stopped. And I believe that this man actually knew the traffic conditions. I believe he knew that he would be safer on the other
now,
side of the
if he
truck.
didn't use words in communicating with you, if he used thoughts, why did he have you roll your window down? So that he could hear you?
So
Do you feel that this was why he did it?
I believe that he had me to roll the window down so he could look at me without looking through the glass, because the glass was very rain street, where it had been raining. And that is the impression that I got, that he wanted the window down so I'd be in closer communication with him, or so we could see each other.
The time when he left you, when your conversation was ended, how did you know that it was all over? Did he say, did he say anything to the effect that, well, I've got to be going now, I have to go, I know, how did he terminate this conversation?
He terminated his conversation very quickly. 1 second we were talking there, and the next thing this vehicle settled down right beside. He stepped back from the truck, and when he stepped back, this thing came back down. Now, it wasn't crosswise the road when it came down. It was heading in the same direction I was. It was right the length of the truck. And when it settled down, he turned and walked up around in front of my headlights and back. But just before he started, he said, Mr. Dernberger, we will be seeing you again.
You believe he will?
Well, I did believe it, but now I don't know how to answer that honestly, because I'm afraid he will, and I don't want him to. But I have a feeling that he will.
You're apprehensive that he will see you, yet you would probably like the experience again.
Well, I don't think
prepared this time.
I don't think that I'd be quite so frightened. I think that I could ask him a few questions. I think I could ask him just about as many as he's asked me now.
Well, Mr. Dernberger, we're because of time, we appreciate you taking the time to come down here with us.
Okay, that's it. What do you think? I think he's telling the truth. There's something going on out there. At least I want to believe. I mean, I wish something like that would happen to me. Why can't I get abducted? I like to get abducted, but not probed. Please. Maybe I'll work out a deal with them. Go ahead and you can take me on your craft and abduct me, but none of that probing stuff, please. Okay, so here we are, 7:48. So let's check in on these trades. This is our 20-pointer. Let's see if I can get this better. So here's our 20-point wide, and this one has hit profit target of $100. You can see the price is bouncing around from 110 to 145. So this would be a winner for the morning session, the 25-pointer. So that's cool. Here's our 20-pointer. This one is at, well, it's showing $81 right now. So if we had a profit target of 75 on this one, we would hit it. If we had a profit target of 100, we're not quite there yet, but very close. I saw 90 there. And then let's go to the last one. This is the 15-pointer. This one is, I see 50. So the profit target on this one is $50. So we're pretty much there right now. So I'm just going to let this keep running here for another 10 or 20 minutes, and we'll continue to monitor these, see what kind of a profit we can actually get out of these, or loss, like up till 8ish or 8:30 California time. And then we'll do the other two check-ins later on, the mid-morning check-in and the end of day. All right, so that's it for this one. Hold on, I'll be back. I'm just going to pause this, and we'll be back shortly. Okay, here we are, 8:02, and this is our check-in on our butterfly trades, our cherry trades. So here's our 15-pointer. Our 15-pointer is showing a profit of $85 right now, $85. So that one has hit profit target. Profit target on this one on the 15 wide was $50. So we've surpassed that. And here's our number 2 trade. This is a 20-pointer. This one is showing a profit of 139. Is that right? 120-ish. So if we had a $75 profit target on this one, we would have hit it. And if we had a $100 profit target, we would have hit it. So this is a good one. 2 winners. And this one here, this is our third one. This is 25 points wide. This one's showing a profit of 180-ish. So the profit target on this is 100, so we've surpassed that. And I guess part of the point of monitoring like this and continuing to monitor it throughout the morning is to see if that's a realistic profit target that I've set on these, or if we can get more or less out of them, or if we should try to get less, or if we can get more. So in these cases, all of these have surpassed it nicely. I guess it's just a matter of finding that sweet spot where you don't want to stay in it too long. You want to see if they can reach a certain profit target, like the majority of them, and all that. So all these, it's 8. So this trade has been on for about 1 hour, and they've all very, what do you call it? They're all strong like bull. They've all strongly surpassed the profit targets, and they're all looking good. They're all inside the tent. So I'll check back in about 15 minutes, and we'll see what's up next. Okay, here we are with our 8:15 update. It's actually 8:19, but close enough. So here is our trades. We'll look at the 25-point wide one first. So you can see this one looks really good. It's up $241. So that's excellent. And we've been in that trade for just over an hour and 15-ish minutes. So here's the middle trade. This is the 20-pointer. This one is up $170. We're pretty close to the center of the tent. So that looks excellent. And then the third one is our 15, our small one. 15-pointer, 15-point wings. And this one is showing a profit of 110. So all of them look good. I'll do one more check-in in about 10 minutes at 8:30. So I'll see you then. Okay, here it is, 8:30, and this is our final update for the morning session. Let's take a look at our trades. Here's the 15-pointer, 15-point wide butterfly. So this one is up $130. The profit target on this was 50. So we've exceeded that by a lot. So that trade looks great. Here's the middle trade. This is a 20-point wide butterfly. This one is up 180. So the profit target on this was either like $75 or $100, in that range. We haven't quite nailed that down yet. But in either of those cases. You can see we far exceeded that. We're closing in on $200 on this one, which is great. Then our last one is the 25-pointer. This trade is looking like this. It's up $260, 250, 260. And the profit target on this one was 100. So we exceeded that by a lot. So everything looks great on these. So we'll just check back in. I'll do like a mid-morning update around 10:30, and then we'll do a final trade as if I had just put this trade on, walked away, and forgot all about it, and just see how it settles out at the end of the day. All right, we'll see you in a few. Okay, here's our mid-morning update. It's 10:40. A little late today. So here's our 15-pointer. You can see we're still inside the tent, and this is showing a profit of $180 right now. There's our first one at 10:30ish. Next, we have our 20-point trade. This is our 20-point butterfly. This one is up $300 bucks. Then finally, our 25-point wide trade, 25-pointer, is up $420, and we're inside the tent. All right, that's it for this one. I'll be back in a couple hours for the end of day settlement. All right, see you soon. Okay, here we go. Monday. Will it happen again? I can't believe that it'll happen again. Come on, give me a break. So this is looking like it's I'm coming here a little bit early. This is our third checkup for the day. We always wait till the end of the day to see where these things settle at. And this one is like coming into what we have 5 minutes now. You can see the countdown just started. And it looks like we're coming into another pin. Boy, if this is going to be another pin today, I'm going to go down to the liquor store and get some lottery tickets. Go play Powerball. Lightning strikes 3 times? Like in a week? Come on. This is for real. So here's our positions. This is the 15 wide butterfly. You can see we're coming in on a pin. As of right now, it's $778, which is nice. This one down here, this is the 20-point wide butterfly. Same thing. It's a nice trade. Looks like we have 980-ish bucks in it right now with 5 minutes left. Very close to that pin again, which is just crazy. What is the pin here? This is the 415. 415 strike. And then let's come down here and look at this is going to be the 25-point wide butterfly. On this one right now is showing a profit of 1,160-ish. So usually I just want to, I'm expecting to just come in here like right at the market close or right after and just see where these things settle. But this is the second day in a row where it seems to be like it looks like it's going to settle, it's going to pin, which is just nuts. Here I've always been saying, yeah, that rarely happens. It's only happened to me once in the last 10 years, blah, blah, blah. It's like winning the lottery. But we had a pretty close pin last Monday on a different trade, and then we had a perfect pin on Friday. And here it is Monday, the next trading day, and it looks like we're going to get another one, or potentially. Regardless, it's very close. So we have 3 minutes left. So the strike is at 115, 5115. That's the middle strike right here. And my trading gut tells me that it's more likely to settle at a whole number like 5110 or 5120 or 5100 like it did on Friday before it settles at 5115. But hey, what do I know? We'll find out. So it looks like it's kind of hovering down towards the 5110. I don't know. Have to wait and see. We have 2 minutes and 20 seconds left. Let's just go through these numbers again real quick. So this is the 15-point wide butterfly. This is showing a profit of $875 with a couple minutes left in the market. The 20-point wide butterfly is right here showing $1,000 profit, $1,070. Getting close to that pin. And then the 25-point wide Let's take a look at that sucker. So here's the 25-point wide, and we'll just watch this going into the settlement. So look at that. That's crazy. So I'm just going to hover this mouse right over the live price, and we'll just watch it and see what happens. We have 1 minute and 30 seconds. It's crazy that it's, well, knock on wood. Let's see if we can get another pin here. I think for everyone watching and just like just being introduced to this strategy, this butterfly strategy for the first time, and we've pinned here twice, 2 times in a row. This isn't like how it should be. This is not normal. So don't get the wrong idea. We need to do a lot more testing on this. This is, like I said, this doesn't happen that often. But here it's happening twice in a row. I'm going to go play Powerball. You still lucky. Okay, we got 38 seconds. It's between 5110 and 5115. And it looks like it's closer to the 550. Oh, it is. It's 5114. This is nuts. 22 seconds. Okay, so there it's up at the one. It's at the 15. It's at 5114.94. 5115. Here we go. 5 seconds. Oh my God, I can't believe this. This is ridiculous. Is it gonna close? Okay, give it a second here to settle in. And that's all she wrote. I guess that's it. So the final price right down here, you can see the SPX is 5116.15. So it's not as close as it was on Friday, but hey, in my book, that's a pin. That's close enough. So this is the 25-point wide butterfly. This is 1,364. That's the total. Well, that's yeah. Well, let's look at the blue number. So the blue number is the settlement number. This is on SPX. So we got 1,354 right there. Let's take a look at the 20. This is the 20-point butterfly. This is final number is 1195, $1,195 on 685 risk. What was the risk on the 25 wide? 25 wide is a risk of 1,025 made 1,000. Let's see, 1,364ish. And then let's look at the 15-point. Here's the 15-point wide. And this one comes in at $984 on a risk of $395. So there we go. There it is. That's the trade for today. So let's see here. I need to update my Excel sheet, and I think I'll update that later this evening, and then we'll just start to do it live tomorrow, every day after the trade. I got to figure out how I'm going to lay these out on that Excel sheet. But let's see, what do we have so far? So here's what I got so far. So we have a total of 3 trades now. So 25th was on the 25th of April. That was Thursday. That was our first trade. Then the 26th was the pin on Friday, which I need to come back in here and fill in. So that was the 26th. Is that right? Where's the calendar? The 26th was Friday. And then today is the 29th. So again, I'm trying to figure out exactly how I'm going to lay these out on this Excel sheet. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to marinate on this for the rest of the day and try to figure out how am I going to lay this out, because I want to keep all this. I want to include all the data, like the total at risk for each one, the total profit at the end of each session or each session checkup, and be sure to mark these pins, that's ridiculous. We had 2 in a row. Don't think that's normal. Anyone out there who is new to this way of trading, that's a rare occurrence. So Yeah, so I'll fill this in this evening. I'll figure out how I'm going to lay this out, fill it in. And starting tomorrow, we'll just fill this in every day after the trade, however I figure out how to like lay these columns out and what info to include and not. So anyway, there we go. That's today's trade. If you'd like to follow along with me on these trades, just make sure you're subscribed to my YouTube channel below. Hit that subscribe button, and also go to my website and join my free email newsletter. I'll leave a link to my website in the description below. Just head on over there, sign up for my free email newsletter. As soon as you do that, you'll get a welcome email from me. Just reply back to that welcome email, and we'll go from there. All right, that's it for this one. Please leave a comment and hit that like button, and we'll see you in the next one.